Welcome, this is the WordPress Plugin Boilerplate video series, and what we're going to do in this video is have a look and see what does it actually do. Just to bear in mind, if we look at pages just before we start, these are the three main pages. When we go into plugins and activate it, one of the things we're going to be doing is making some pages, blank pages, so that later on when we actually go onto the client side, for example, if we go into where we have, for an example, some JavaScript or React, if we go into our little React app, there we go there. If we notice that we're actually using a template that's in the plugin, and we basically use a page underscore template filter to redirect that blank page to our kind of page in the plugin so that it's theme independent. So going back to the dashboard that we see, what we start to do is a number of different things. In the activations, we build up some pages, dashboard, create event, list event settings. You'll see different things like this that I'm using some helper functions, and to show how they're wired in and where they get displayed, I'm using debug information, and we'll go through that. But the first thing, one of the things we do is when we go into our, let's just quickly go into the PHP admin. When we see in our plugins here, we create a table, and what we'll also do is we actually insert a test event in it just to show how it all works. It's a scaffolding project, not a final version. So we have our create event. Again, some helper functions here, some debug information, a little bit of client-side validation. If we type in here and fill in the details, we'll see how we can use the REST API, how it's wired into the REST API. Just do some of these. Standard, check. We can also upload an image. We'll see how that's sort of done. So let's onto that one there, select it, register event. And if we notice, we get back, and this is just debug information from a REST API, the JSON data, that a new event's been added. We can see that if we come in here and refresh. Last one is 2:30. If we do refresh the page and go to the next page, there we see it, that test 1000. So we've installed all of that. We've also using the WP nonce. We'll explain how we do that for security purposes. We can see the actual REST API that we'll be building as our additional thing in here. We can see that we have a class for the REST API, and for example, get events, we just did one to the add event, and what we did at the very bottom is we just returned back the data that was sent, all the parameters and all that information there. And the main idea about this video series is not so much about the REST API or any of the other features, it's where do we actually put things so that it works like this. So what we'll be doing is we also have a list events, for example, where it gets data back, and we can go and click edit. And rather than doing a sort of server round trip, we basically again use REST APIs. If we come back, cancel, go back into the main thing. If we wanted to delete, shall we say 2:30? If we delete that, what we do in the database is come back. What I'm doing is, I don't like, as an XDBA, I don't really delete things. I just basically set them as inactive. And later on, if I'm clearing out the database, I'll do that, but that's set to 0. So now when we go back in here, and if we go back cancel, 2:30 doesn't get shown because it's inactive. So we have all of these different things. So basically, this is our little CRUD application of EventsDB, using REST API, nonce, MySQL tables, creating blank pages, so that when we go into our site, and shall we say go to the JavaScript one here, that basically is loading in all through a REST API or the posts, we can see that we're using here the template in the plugin. And if we look at the theme itself, which I'm just using underscores, so if we come up here and open in a new window and open come back down here, look in the content, we can see basically in our themes, when we open that up, we'll see that it's just using underscores, and you'll see there's no particular pages actually used here in underscores. There's no particular pages as custom pages for React, etc. They're all really done by taking the pages in WordPress and redirecting them to the plugin page. So that's it there. Shinobi is just basically I'm using the NetNinja's style sheet, using Sass and using utility classes. So that's the style sheet I'm using here. So if we go back WP plugins, we can see we have our events DB, and when we deactivate the plugin rather than delete it, we will see that our pages have been deleted, though they're part of the menu structure. And when we come into our folder here and do a refresh, if we go into plugins, because we've deactivated, the table isn't deleted. We'd do that on uninstall because people may just deactivate the plugins because they want to debug something or whatever. We wouldn't want to lose all the data. But when we want to kind of clear out everything totally, we have some various different choices. We can either do it in the deactivator. We have the activator where we set up all our pages. We have the deactivator where we can do our deactivation. Here you can see I'm removing the pages, but I'm not removing the data. If I want to do everything on uninstall, we see that we get the uninstall.php here, which is where we would do all of those things that we'd want to do, like deleting tables, etc. So that's an overview of the app, and what we'll do is when we work through it, we'll see what comes with the boilerplate when you first just create it, and then we'll sort of see how we wire in hooks, REST APIs, how we use our own custom sort of JavaScript files, because this file here comes already built in. But if we want to refactor out some JavaScript, how we do it here, how we put in our React and Svelte and vendors, anything else like that. So all the things that we might want to do, and then once you have that, you can work through it, chop and change things as we do as developers, and make use of this wonderful plugin because it's sort of recommended by WordPress for kind of bigger projects, not maybe for a single file where you just want to do something in a plugin, but it does keep code maintainable and means that as teams you can work on individual aspects. So that's the end of this video.